12, Ghana Standard for Health Protection Requirements for Ambient Noise Control GS 12/2018, Ghana Standard for Environmental and Health Protection Requirements for Ambient Air Quality Points and Source Stack Emissions GS 12/36/2019. So most of the time the permit conditions contain this, and then we indicate the conditions you are supposed to meet. So for example, this is for the aquaculture sector. So these are the effluent standards you are supposed to meet. When you discharge water from your ponds and you want to release it into the environment, it should meet these standards. When we come and then we bring our environmental quality officers, and then they fetch your effluent and it doesn't meet these standards, it means that you are not complying with our standards. And so we have for the noise too, it depends on whether your undertaking is in an industrial area, is in a commercial area, or is in an area where residential, the decibels are different. What to do after obtaining an environmental permit? So I've talked about this already. You have to comply with the validity periods. Most of the time we have a lot of issues here. People don't come to renew their permits. So what we do is that once a while we embark on compliance monitoring. We go around and then we close those that we can close. We close them, especially for what do you call it, hotels and other things. We can easily close. But our challenge has been with the agriculture sector, and it is because of the live animals that is produced. Sometimes it becomes a challenge for us how we will really close those undertakings. But we are working with our lawyers, and we are thinking that we can take those people to court. For the sake of the birds, you can be feeding your birds, but you, the human being, will take you to court. So in the near future, we will embark on massive compliance monitoring in this sector. We haven't done that because of the way the sector is, and we've been thinking how we should go around it. So it is an advice that before the permit expires, you start the renewal process, so that by the time it expires, then your documents will be ready. So nowadays what we do is that if, for instance, you are supposed to renew your permit in August 2020, and you didn't bring it in August 2020, but you brought it in maybe August 2021, we will backdate your permits to start in August 2020. If you don't want us to backdate, then you pay the administrative charges that goes with it. That is the offense. And then our permits are project specific. It's not transferable. So if you are an individual or a proponent and you have 3 projects, maybe one at Kaswa, the other one at Ashoma, then the other one at Tema, you need 3 permits. You can't say that I've acquired permit for Kaswa, so no. Or we can't issue you with 1 permit and state Kaswa, Ashoma, Tema. The Kaswa enclave will have its own permits, Ashoma its own permit, Tema its own permit. That is what happens. Then I've told you about our monitoring, that we conduct monitoring activities. So when we come to your farm and under regulation, under section 13 of our act, it gives us enforcement powers. So if we come to your undertaking and we realize that your undertaking is having a serious threat on the environment and public health, first what we do is that we will write a letter to you, because we don't want to start by closing. Most of the time those we close, we have issued them and still they are not complying. Then the next stage is to close you. But the first offense, what we do is that we will issue you with a letter, and in the letter we'll state the offending activity, the steps required for you to take to counteract the offending activity, then the time within which we expect you to do that, and then the immediate cessation where possible. So if we issue you with this letter and you don't comply with it, then we can take you to court, it's an offense, and it not exceeding 250 penalty units or imprisonment. Under Regulation 29 of the LI, Environmental Assessment Regulation, we have the offenses and the penalties. And so it says that it is an offense for a person to commence an undertaking without an environmental permit issued in respect of the undertaking. 2. If you fail to comply with the directives of the agency to register your undertaking under Regulations 1 and 2, it is an offense. C. Whoever fails to conduct an environmental impact assessment in respect of an undertaking specified in Schedule 2 is also an offense, which is also an offense, and you can be fined, taken to court, and then or imprisoned. Then D. Whoever submits or provides the agency with false information. If we realize that you have provided us with false information, that one too is an offense, and you can be held liable. And then if you fail to submit an environmental report as required, it's also an offense. And for all these offenses, it is liable to a summary conviction of fine not exceeding $500,000 or imprisonment for term not exceeding 1 year, or to both. And $500,000 is penalty units. So in conclusion, I would say that the EIA process has significantly influenced the design and implementation of major projects in Ghana, and it continues to be an integral part in the decision-making process, because in the EIA you have to take a decision whether, for instance, if you have a project here and you do the assessment and realize no, a lot of things will be impacted, you can take a decision to say I will not do it here, and then you move to an alternative site. So it really influences the design of projects. And we think that nowadays a lot of financial institutions too are ensuring that whenever they give loans, all the projects go through the EIA process. And as for the donor agencies, I think it's one of their hallmarks. If you don't do the EIA, they will not give you the loan. So it is something that we all have to embrace, and then ensure that we also participate in it. So for a farmer, what do you do? I will encourage you to acquire an environmental permit before you commence your operations, and then to ensure that you abide by the environmental permits conditions, and also the validity periods and everything. And also, where you are in doubt, please, you can contact the EPA at the head office, or you can send a mail to us, info@epa.gov.gh, or our website is www.epa.gov.gh. So with this, I think I'm done. Thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Madam Lori. All right, so like we promised, we will get soft copies of the presentation available through the emails as well. Please, do you have just about 2 questions, if there are any questions?
Thank you. My name is Joe. My first question is, can I obtain one permit to cover poultry, piggery, and fish farming? Let's say I have a piece of land which I've planned to do fish farming at one part, poultry, and then piggery. Can I obtain one permit for it all? Then secondly, can you please simplify the registration process? Because I started the process at where I am, but I got to a place I was finding things difficult, so I just have to drop it. I went to the office, I got the form, I filled. I was asked to add my site plan, of which I added. Then later they asked me to go and draw block plan of. In fact, I realized it was frustrating, so I just have to stop everything. Can you please simplify it for us?
Thank you. Hello.
Hello.
Thank you. For your first question, I think yes, we do that. And for that, we classify them as integrated projects because all the undertaking is at the same site. We put all together in your permit schedule. So that one is done. We don't give you individual permits. We give you one permit, but we in the permit we indicate that you are doing aquaculture, you are doing fisheries, poultry, you are doing maybe livestock and everything. That is done. It is only when the undertakings are not at the same site that one we separate it. And for your second question, I think that a lot of people have said it, especially the micro and minor undertakings. So the assurance is that we are reviewing our law and all is being taken into account. So I'm sure when it is done, we'll reduce the to medium farms and acquire the projects without going through all this Herculean tasks. So it is being worked on. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Eric. In your preamble, you said if my permit is declined, I have to write to the minister. My question is, don't we have any decentralized way of dealing with this? Because writing to the minister before approval will be given.
Okay, so what happens is that when it is declined, we meet you and then we discuss with you. We give you reasons why we are declining the permit. But sometimes when we give the reasons, still people don't understand us. They think that no, the permit should come on. And then at that stage, we as an agency will have told you no. These are the reasons why we think your permit cannot hold. And you are saying it should hold. So there should be somebody above us who should take the decision. At that point, it is the minister who you have to write to, and then he will form a committee to look into the matter. Because now we cannot look into our own matter. We looked into it and we told you no. You understand? So before we get to that stage, we would invite you, give you the reasons why we think A, B, C, D, this project cannot hold, this and this. We'll give you all the reasons before we issue with the letter and decline. But some people still say no, they won't agree, and then they go up. You see, so that is how it is. Last question.
I'm Charles Apia. My problem is what happens when you have obtained the permit from your office, and then maybe the people around you also object to the permission they give to you? What would be the next thing that you do?
That is why, as much as possible, we want you to do the neighborhood consultation so that you take all their concerns into account. The problems we are having is that, especially with the poultry farms, most of the time when they start, where they start from, maybe it's an area that nobody lives there. They've been there, now more development is coming. If the people come, then start complaining. Meanwhile, you met that farmer there. Complain, then it becomes a problem. So when it happens like that, what we do is that we sit with the community plus the person, and then you, the person, whatever the community is saying that is impacting on them, we tell you to try and then mitigate it. But if it gets to a point you cannot mitigate it, then maybe you may have to move. That is what happens. You may have, it's very disheartening. And we are trying to find a way around it. But I think that it is also something that should be a policy decision. And then I think that government should have places earmarked for various undertakings, so that if this undertaking is there and then you came and met it, then you cannot move it. This one is a policy decision that maybe MUFA can spearhead and then have it. And then if we have it and now the farmers have that trump card, whenever you are coming close to them, you know that they have the upper hand against you, and then you will not go near to where they are. So maybe MOFA, if they are here, they should look into it and let's see how it goes. So thank you very much for having me.
All right. Thank you very much. I think we can put our hands together for. All right. So next, we want to have a session on assessing funding. I think that has been one of the major challenges with our businesses. How do we assess funds? So we have from ADB, Mr. Nicholas Nikoi, to take us through assessing funding for agribusiness. So he will tell us what we need to know and possibly give us some leads for our farmers. So I'll present to you Mr. Nicholas Nikoi from ADB.
Thank you for the opportunity. And we are excited to be part of this setup. I think agribusiness is the business of the future. And so if you're a fish farmer or a livestock farmer or whatever, I think that you are in the right environment. But let me start with addressing the substantive issue, and that is how do you access funding from ADB? The first thing that you need to do, we need to establish some relationship with you. And in most instances, we have had people who had walked to the bank and they need assistance. Meanwhile, they have no records with the bank, they have not established any relationship, and they want the bank to assist them. It is always very difficult to do that because the bank may not know you. It is like coming to your farm and asking you to give me maybe something on credit, whether it's a crate of eggs or a ton of fish or maybe 2 big cows or whatever. You may not know me. And every banker needs to be very much assured that whatever money is given out is going to come back, because the monies belong to people like you. And so let us start that relationship. And let me emphasize that do not come and open the account because you are looking for a loan or you are looking for an overdraft. That is why I came to open the account or start the relationship. Yes, there would be an objective along the line, but let that relationship be a very good and formal one. And then when we grow it to a certain level, you realize that in your need, it is even the banks that will run to you wanting to provide some kind of support to you. And number 2, so I will encourage all of you to, those who do not have any formal relationship with ADB, you can start now to help grow the agribusiness space along the line. So that's the first thing. And when we talk about relationship, we are referring to running your business through the bank. I guess quite a lot of us would either be running through either sole proprietorship or maybe if it's a limited liability company. Let us start, have it registered, and then come and open the account. The second thing you need to put together is a good business plan. We have ideas, we have thoughts, we have projects in mind that we need to implement. And like an artist that paints a picture that you can look at and say that, oh, this looks very beautiful, or this is very nice. In the same way, your business idea is put together in the form of a business plan. And it will give you what the project seeks to do, what it seeks to achieve, how you are going to get it done, the requirements and the resources that you need to be able to get the project to take off. And yes, okay. And in this process, there are certain key things that are necessary for you to know. Most often, you might not have the full expertise of doing a business plan. But when you ask somebody to do it for you, there are certain things you can look out for, so that if they are not in the business plan, you would be able to draw their attention to it for them to put it together. And I can tell you that when you have a good business plan in place, a lot of banks or financial institutions would be seeking to provide the funding in order for the project to take off. So, number one is that your project or your product should be market driven. Most often, people will put in ideas that, oh, I want to do this. And then you ask them, who is going to buy? Then there is a challenge. Oh, we'll sell it on the market. There are certain projects and products that should be looked at critically even before you take off. And so having a well-established market, and in this form we are saying that getting in touch with most probably the people who are likely to buy and having a form of agreement with them, we call it maybe an off-taker agreement, would help your cause in putting a business plan, or it should be part of your business plan. Number two, you should be able to have the right management people with the required expertise. Maybe if you are doing fishing, at least there should be some level of management people who have in-depth knowledge about the entire fisheries production process, right from breeding through hatching of eggs and through the process before the final product comes, so that if there is any challenge along the line, you can be sure that it will be addressed. And it is important because if you fail along the line, the entire project can fail. The monies you have borrowed can become a problem, and it will create problem for both the bank and you as the business promoter. Number three, you should be able to have and indicate how you are going to get your raw material source. Maybe you want to do processing. You are not into direct production, but you want to process, if it is poultry, or you want to process some pigs. How are you going to get the raw material to be able to even undertake that process? You should be able to clearly indicate in your business plan. Either you are doing it yourself or you are sourcing it from somebody. And when you are doing it yourself, it has to be very clear in the business plan how you are going to get it done. And beyond that, we are saying that when you want funding from the bank, we all know that banks on their own do not have money. It is people's money that they lodge with the banks, which is also in turn given out to those that need it. We provide financial intermediation. And so it is a fundamental requirement for you to have some form of security to support the requests that you are making. This is not only a regulatory requirement, but it also provides some kind of cushion. And we believe that, yes, the business should be able to pay for every loan or every facility it takes from the cash flows that it's able to generate. And that should be the principal source. The security is not meant to be used to pay for the facility. The business should demonstrate that when you do that business, when you produce the pigs, or you rear the fish, or you do the poultry, you can sell and generate enough revenues to pay for the costs of production and also pay for the facility that you have accessed. Then the next thing, which is number 5, is that for every business that you do, for you as the promoter, we need to see your personal contribution towards the project. And we call that equity. So if you want to do any form of project, how much are you bringing on board? Sometimes it may not always be in the form of money, but what components of the project are you financing yourself? And you have to clearly demonstrate to the bank that this is what I'm personally contributing to, so that we will all be in it together. That is what we call equity. Most often, and through business experience, we have come to the understanding that if you are starting a business and at least you have about 30% of the total cost of the project from your own sources, it helps with the sustainability of the business. If the business is starting with 100% loan, most likely you will be overwhelmed with costs and the business will not be sustainable. And the higher your equity, which means that if it is 30% and beyond, the better it is for the business to be able to either start, or if you want to do expansion, you can also do that expansion. And then maybe last but not the least, we have indicated that it should be market driven. There have been instances where people have gone in for projects. They finish and then they have a challenge as far as selling is concerned. If you can't sell the product, you cannot generate the necessary revenue that you need. And if you can't generate it, you can't pay back the costs that you have incurred, whether they all belong to you or a portion of it belongs to somebody else. And then finally, as part of the business plan, you need to be able to demonstrate that this is how much the project is going to cost. You should be able to say that if I'm doing 1,000 birds of poultry, maybe it's going to cost me 20,000 Ghana cedi or 30,000 Ghana cedi, and this is the breakdown. All those things need to be part of the business plan. And that would also help you to know which components of the project itself you can do and which components you are seeking support from the bank or the financial institution to be able to do on your behalf. In some instances, we call it a budget. Others will call it maybe a gross margin analysis or whatever. But you should be able to know how much it will cost you. Let us not engage in a project and start before we realize that, oh, there are things that need to be paid for and I haven't planned for them. So let me run and go and seek support. So before you start, make sure that all these things are put in place. Let us start a business relationship with you. It is through that process that we will get to know you and understand your business and know what you require, so that when you come, it makes it much easier for all of us. And finally, let me say this, that in all the business that you are doing, please have some proper record keeping in place, so that if you are called upon to say that how much did you do in 2019, you won't struggle to provide answers to it. The bank needs that historical information to be able to better assess and judge what you are requesting for, and see how best they can support you, or to what extent you can be supported. So let me leave it here in just a nutshell. I've given you a brief, and we can interact them more. But first of all, start a business relationship with the bank. And when you can really understand that for this country, nobody understands the agribusiness better than ADB. So if you haven't opened an account with us, please walk into any of our 81 branches scattered across Ghana, and let's start a business relationship. Number two, put in a business plan together with all the components we have talked about. Number three, make sure that you have some kind of security in place to support the request you are looking for. Number four, make sure you are contributing something as a business promoter, as your equity, so that it will make it easier for everyone. And number five, let your project be business or market driven. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nikoi. So please, do you have any questions? He spoke on us finance.
My name is Bernard Bimpa from Brunhafu. I'm a resource person for non-traditional agricultural activities. Thank you for the presentation. My question is that, do you support incubators? Because all the presentation or the requirement for accessing fund from ADB was meant for people that are doing banking, that are able to have business. So support a incubator, a beginner. How do you support such persons?
Thank you very much for your question. So you are talking about complete startups. Okay. For every business, there are one or two outcomes, especially if it's a startup. It's either bound to succeed or it is bound to fail. Whether it will succeed or it will fail depends a lot on what plan you have put in place. For Agric Development Bank, we believe strongly that you must demonstrate on the ground of having started something, so that the required support for growing organically can be provided for you. Some time ago, we had what we call the venture capital, where people with business idea from startups are nurtured to a certain level, and then the banks take over and then provide that support. But let me say this, that on the normal day, we expect you to have started to a certain level before you come to us for support. But there had been some instances where the bank has some startups along the value chain, and let me explain. For instance, recently or somewhere last year, we did the poultry project. And so there are some along the value chain, the production, processing, marketing, and all that. There are people at the production level who already have the experience. And so that is well assured. And you have some that are coming in through the processing component along the value chain. In that instance, yes, though that processing is a startup, because it has been well structured along the entire value chain, the bank will support that. So as a startup, it is based on the project, it is assessed on its merit, and if all the necessary risk items are really addressed, the bank would not hesitate it. But we look at it purely in the entire financing of the value chain for that particular project. Thank you.
Thank you so much. My name is Joel. And once again, when you were speaking, you said, first of all, we have to form a relationship with you. Yeah, so let's say I'm at a place that you don't have a branch. How can I form that relationship? In fact, I'm in Takwa, and I had interaction with ADB at the 2020 National Farmers Day. And from the forum, I came back and I decided opening an account with ADB. There was no branch in Takwa, so I moved to the nearest branch, which is Aguna, close to Takrade, to open the account. I banked with you for some time. One day I called the manager to ask if I can access a loan to push my business. And he was telling me, oh, you still have to bank for some time, he mentioned a certain amount I should get to before being able to access the loan. And I said, what? Then it's the same story other banks are telling me. Rather, microfinance banks are those who are helping me. So should I go in for the microfinance loan, use it in my farm, and bring the money to ADB? No. So how do you also intend to form that relationship with a farmer? And even as we speak now, ADB has never been to Takwa to even inspect my farm or look at other people's farm in Takwa there.
Thank you very much for your question. We know Takwa very well, and we have a lot of customers scattered around that place, Takwa, Bogosu, Bodie, to all those places. I think that now technology has helped us to move from, let's say, physical branches to electronic banking. And in the comfort of your home, you can do business even without stepping out. You can open an account and run your transactions through electronic platform without any challenge. Our products are compliant with some of these e-banking products. And so I would encourage you, if you have opened the account, let us still continue to do the business even through the e-banking forms. Whether your payments are coming through Momo, you can still push it into your account. If you want to move the money from your account onto Momo, you can still do that. I have paid a lot of transactions directly from my account without moving a step. But I want us to understand that now the business is moving from physical presence, and we know when the pandemic came, businesses have to close down. People were working from, even as we speak now, people are working from home, and things are running normal. Let us see how best we can integrate these products into our businesses to help us run the account seamlessly, irrespective of where we are. And that would help us. And ADB has specific products to meet that concern of yours. In terms of running the account, yes, there's a fundamental rule that maybe at any point you come, you may qualify for just about maybe 10% of your turnover. That is the rule. But we will look at a number of things, the nature of your business, what you are doing, and it helps the bank to be able to advise and see how best they can support you. In terms of your presence in Tapa, like I'm saying, we go as far as Asenkrigwa. Our branch is in Enchi. The next one is in Agona. But we have rubber farmers scattered along all that place. And to today, they are still doing business. So we can engage them or we can interact to see how best you can scale it up. Because we are very much keen in supporting your business. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, with regards to the relationship that you want us to form with the bank, if one wants a business plan to be, produced for him or her, is the bank got an outfit that can assist in that direction? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me say this, that we don't have an outfit that does business plans for customers, no. We believe that as being people who would assess whatever you bring to us, it is good to have some very independent people who have the required skills in that particular project to provide support. And maybe along the line, there may be people, and through programs like this, you may meet people with the required expertise who can provide that kind of support in putting a business plan together. And I'm sure AGRIHOUSE can do that. Individually, if we know some people with that expertise, we would always refer you to go and see them so they do an independent work and submit to us for assessment.
Thank you. My name is Eric. ADB.
Truly agric and more.
ADB.
Truly agric and
See,
more.
my question is, as your name depicts, you are there for the agric business of this country. One of your core mandates is to make sure agric. Right. Now, we are talking about relationship. How effective is the bank doing this relationship? Because in this country, when you mention bank, you scare people, I'm telling you. Somebody is on Yamanchini doing Scottish something, and you say you should come and establish a relationship with the bank. Immediately you say loan, you go back 2 steps. But when ADB comes closer, and then you explain your product, I think it will go a long way. Because if you remember some years back, if you don't have 2 million cedis, you can't even open an account with ADB, StanChart, Barclays. Right? Now they realized that they were losing customers. So they had to come, various organizations, explaining their products, and then you see a lot of people are taking loans. So how effective is ADB doing this relationship to help people, as your name depicts? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I like the way you express it. Yes, ADB is truly agric and more. But you see, let me maybe give you a revelation. We have about 24 banks in Ghana now. Out of 24 banks, when you take the total agric portfolio being funded in this country, ADB has the singular highest amount in terms of financing, which depicts our objective to support agricultural finance. And you can go to Bank of Ghana, request for that data. to validate what I am saying. So we are very much on course. Maybe for the benefit of those who didn't hear him, Hiamanchine is in the Nsoko district. Yes, it's in the Nsoko district. It's about 30 minutes or something from Wenchi when you are going to German district. And I know the place very much. The bank would have loved to have branch in every single place so that when you take a step, you would be able to access financing. But every branch comes with certain level of cost, which has to be maintained. And to make it more accessible and easier for every individual who is doing agribusiness in this country, that's why I'm saying that a lot more electronic means have been created. This morning, I had to send money to one gentleman in Hiamanchine, and I did it through Momo, through my account with ADB. And when I finished, I just called him. He said he has received it. That is delivery of financial services in your palm. And we have the platform that can help you to achieve that. So it is not a difficult thing at all. We are still very much in force, and we believe strongly in supporting the agribusiness of this country. Thank you.
Okay, so let's take the very last question, very last one.
Thank you very much. Mine is a suggestion.
Okay.
With regards to the business plan.
Okay.
You see, to contract somebody to develop a business plan for you, it's not small money. Whereas an individual can get about 5,000 to 10,000, can set up a farm. The money that you pay for that business plan, maybe even more than the 10,000. I want to suggest to ADB, if you really want to help our farmers, develop a questionnaire, develop some kind of template that will require the farmer to provide the necessary information you want. I'm sure by the time the person will have finished providing the information, you will guess the intention of the person. So that you depend on that to help our farmers. But if you want every prospective customer or somebody to take loan from your bank to bring business plan, I bet you get only those in Accra here. But for us from the eastern region, the upper Manya Krobo, Asesewa areas there, it's very difficult. That is my suggestion. I'm not a participant, I'm just passing through. I'm a member of parliament for Upper Manya Asesewa. I heard about this program, and I know how some young man and woman who are desirous of going into farming. In fact, they want to take it to the highest level. So I decided to inform them, help them to come. So now that they have come, I will just take my leave. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your suggestion. Let me just say that that suggestion is well taken note of. But we need to note that in doing business, there are costs and returns. Sometimes we need to put in a little more. Not that farmers do not do that. I started by saying that an artist will paint a picture and you look at it and say it's beautiful. It expresses clearly what the person wants to communicate. If you want to come and borrow like 50,000 Ghana and you need to sacrifice maybe 5,000 Ghana to put your ideas in a form which will enable the bank to better understand what you are doing and address it, I think it is worth it. And that 50,000 maybe can help you get 100,000 or more. So it is well taken note of, but let us, a lot of applications come, and maybe the information and the way they have put it doesn't communicate well. And so it might be rejected, not because the project is not good, but maybe it was not put in a way that will help people to understand. That is the reason why you need to get people. And I believe that There are organizations that can support you with grants or something to be able to put this together and grow your business organically. Thank you very much. I'll be at the back end so that if you have any further questions, we can engage and interact. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Nikoi. So, do you have exhibitions ongoing at the far end? ADB has a staff here as well. So I'm sure if you want to still get in touch with ADB, you can do that. Next, still speaking about the compliance, we have FDA, and they'll be taking us to the next 30 minutes. What we need to know, the compliance and regulations.
Good morning. Hello. Okay. Good morning. I am Marilla from. So FDA is one of the stakeholders when it comes to the food value chain. We have the farmers. We come in at the processing section. So we have farmers, then we have the processors, then transportation, packaging first, and then transportation, and then the retail. So we come in from the processing side, and then we run through to the retail, and then final consumption by the consumer. Yeah, so we have a law which sets us up, which is the Public Health Act 2012, Act 851. And we will pick a few of the sections that deal with what we are talking about today. It is animal products. So the farmers, as I mentioned, isn't under us, it is under MOFA. But we come in from the processing, and I could even see milk processing, that means yogurt processing, and then bee, when it comes to honey too. So all of that fall under the mandates of the Food and Drugs Authority. So the Public Health Act, as I mentioned, is to help to revise and consolidate the law relating to public health and safety. So that is our mandate, to ensure that whatever we consume, so whether drugs, food, household chemicals, cosmetics, we regulate all, to ensure that they are safe before they are consumed by the final consumer. Okay. So we also regulate the food industry. We are talking about food, we are talking about animal products with standards. And the standards are set by the Ghana Standards Authority. Of course, we always form a technical committee, and FDA is also part of it. We have academia and industry and then other stakeholders to form the standards. So we use the standards to regulate this industry. So going back to the law, we have a section 97, that indicates that no person shall manufacture, import, or export or retail food if it hasn't been registered by the authority. Because it's through the registration that we ensure that the food is safe before we consume. And then the other section also talks about the authority shall register the food if it is satisfied that the food complies with the prescribed standards. And then The manufacturing side too, we have to ensure that that also complies with good manufacturing practices. Because you can have food which is well packaged, well labeled, but if the facility from which it's being churned out doesn't provide a safe environment, maybe hygiene is being compromised, and the final product, although packaged nicely, wouldn't be safe for consumption. So we register the products if you intend to package it, and then we also license the facility from which these products are churned out. And then we also brought in slaughtering because we are dealing with farming, so those who will be at the processing section, they do the slaughtering. And we are indicating that a person shall not use any premises for slaughtering of animals unless a permit has been issued and the premises is registered by the district assemblies. So when it comes to the primary processing, which is the slaughtering, we have the assemblies coming in. They will look at the facility, and of course there was the EPA lady too. They also get involved to ensure that this facility is okay for the primary processing. Then they register it. Then we have FDA coming in to ensure that the hygienic conditions are maintained, ensure sanitation and cleaning hasn't been compromised. And then we have the veterinary service also coming in to ensure that the ante-mortem, before the animal is slaughtered, ante-mortem activities are carried out, they go through the singeing, and then they will look at the post-mortem when they look at the offals and the organs and all that. So when it comes to slaughtering, we have these three main institutions. We have LGA, we have VSD, which is under MOFA, and then we have the assemblies. The one before this one. So we also say that a person shall not commit nuisance by slaughtering an animal in a place other than a slaughtering facility. There was once we were called one early morning that some people were slaughtering animals around Nima somewhere. We had to go in and then prevent that. Yes. So you can't just get up and then you decide I want to slaughter here and then you go ahead and you do that. You have to ensure that the assemblies come in and they register the facility. They indicate that it is suitable for that purpose before you start. Then maybe during sunlight and occasions where we have to do more slaughtering, we may have to maybe veer off the main slaughtering facility. So the law also accommodates that you can see the assemblies, they can give a temporary place, but in all these cases, the assemblies will have to be involved and the other stakeholders. Then the minister may act in accordance with the advice of the authority, make regulations. Yes, we are in the process of doing that. And then this also talks about conveying. We know we have issues with conveying of our fresh meat. Usually they are conveyed in these open care trucks. It's not that we don't have regulation. We have. Maybe we haven't enforced it to the latter because this is food. And once the raw material is compromised, even when it is heated, it is passed through processing. There are some microorganisms which can withstand even very high temperatures. They form spores, and then when they have favorable conditions, they start growing. So we shouldn't think, oh, because the meat will have to go through heat, so we can just handle it anyhow, anyway, and then the final product will be safe. No. So conveying of meat is also an issue, a headache that we are handling now. We've now started licensing vans, regulated vans. So very soon we will start ensuring that we enforce this provision to the latter, so that everybody would convey meat in these regulated vans. Okay. Okay. So as I mentioned earlier, whichever premises you are using for the processing, if it's for the slaughtering, it's supposed to be registered by the assemblies. Then we come in and ensure the hygiene bit. But when it comes to the processing, that one starts with FDA, ends with FDA. So you have to ensure that the premises is licensed, and then the product itself, your chain out, is also registered. Okay. And after the license, of course, we go to do our normal inspections. I'll take you through a few of the things we look out for whilst doing the inspections. So after the inspections, when we give you maybe non-compliances, you address all of them, then we issue you with a license. Okay, we also have some prohibited acts. Okay, so a person commits an offense if the person sells or offers for sale food which is unwholesome, unfit for human consumption. Because there are times you slaughter an animal, you realize that maybe it doesn't handle well, and the meat isn't safe. But because of course you have pumped in money and you wouldn't want to just get rid of it, you just maybe package it and then you sell. So you commit an offense, and if you are caught, there's a huge penalty to it. Okay. And then another section also talks about displaying or selling food under insanitary conditions. Because I mentioned that the product as you see it has relation with wherever it is being produced. So you shouldn't think that wherever it's being produced doesn't have any impact on the final product. It does. So when you are producing food under insanitary conditions, you fall foul of the law. So you would have to face the rigors of the law. Okay. Then this is also talking about closure, where the minister will have to come in. The closure is always the last resort. We know we deal with people's businesses, and we know in this era of Kuru and we are all struggling. So going to the closure section is always the last resort. But there are a few times we are pushed to invoke this aspect of the law, and then we have to close down facilities. But usually when we come and do inspections, there are non-compliances. We ask you to address them. We keep on monitoring. That is why we are there. But there are some companies that, excuse me to say, they have very hard ears. And it's usually when you apply force, that's the setup. So please, we would want everybody to comply so that we would not have to get to that point. Okay. So with our registration process, especially for those who will package, maybe selling some meat and then even snails and the rest, package and sell, and you have to purchase a form, you write application letter, a copy of your business certificate. Then you also have to analyze the product, you call it COA, you bring the analytical reports. And then, of course, you have to have documents. There are times we have claims on these products too. So once you have claim, even if it's a nutrition claim, maybe the protein is this much, the fat is that much, you would have to have a COA that corresponds with the figures you have on. So these form part of the documentation. And of course, there is the fee aspects that you also pay. Okay. Then when packaging, you would have to meet these packaging requirements. It falls under airline 1541. So the name of the product will have to be the net weight, the list of ingredients if necessary. If it's just one ingredient, you may not have to. But if it's other ingredients are also part, you'd have to. Then, of course, the date of manufacture, the best before dates, and then the batch number, which also comes in handy if we have to do traceability. The name and address of the manufacturer, country of origin, of course, if it's Ghana. Then instructions for storage, because we know the kind of products we are dealing with, animal products, they are high-risk products. They can't just be stored anyhow. They will have to be stored under controlled temperatures. So you have to indicate the storage conditions. And of course, the label should be in English, because that is the mode of communication. And then for the licensing of the facilities too, you pick a form, you attach an application letter, and then you pay the necessary fee. Okay. Go on. Okay. So when we come to your premises to come and have a look, if the primary processing, like the slaughtering or the main processing, maybe processing honey and snails after the primary processing, packaging it. And we look at the location and design of your facility. So your facility shouldn't be located by a dump site, because we know that we have microorganisms, that is germs for the layman, that can get into the product. You also shouldn't be sited close to a chemical producing company, because we have these chemicals that can also get into the product. So anything that will render the product unsafe, you shouldn't get anywhere close to that. And even these big drains, because the big drains, so we know all the hazards that are in it, and that gets into the final product. So we will look at all these. And the structure should also be suitable. We don't come asking for a very big place, no. You rare snails on the farm, in your house, you have a small place, you do the packaging, just a small place. The ideal thing is the place should be neat, because we know where food is produced, cleaning is of paramount interest. We shouldn't compromise that. So we don't come looking for state-of-the-art places, no. A very small place, but cleaning and neatness is what we would always look out for indoors. And we always say the walls and the floors should be such that you can wash easily. So they should be made of materials, whether tiles, whether emulsion paints, whichever paint, so that you can wash easily. And the paint should also be light. We wouldn't want to go into a facility where we have the paint being black. But if it's white or it's cream, light colored, usually when it's dirty, you'll be able to see it, and then you clean easily. And then the place should also be well illuminated. Because if it's well illuminated, you see everything, and there are pests around, you see, and the place is dirty too, you see. And then the kind of raw materials we are dealing with, the high-risk products, the animal products, they should also always be chilled. So there should always be a chiller, even if we are just doing the primary processing. After slaughtering, of course, you quickly chill the products. Because if you don't quickly chill, then you have this discoloration. That means you have the microorganisms and other hazards getting involved. And whoever consumes the final product, if not processed well, will of course affect the person. So whether a chiller or a main cold storage facility, depending on how long you would keep the product. If it's for a short while, a chiller will do. But if you have to keep it for a longer time, then a main cold storage facility. And you should be monitoring the temperature. You shouldn't just throw it in and then bring it out as and when. Because if it's supposed to be frozen, then it should stay frozen. Because if it's supposed to be frozen for a long time and doesn't stay frozen and it is soft, then you know that you have the products being compromised. You have microorganisms growing on it. It will start discoloration. That means it wouldn't be safe again for consumption. So whichever equipment you are using, you should be monitoring the temperature to ensure that it's always working well. And then for those who do the slaughtering, we know most people are using the car ties. We have spoken about it, and we are still on them. Some of them have moved away from it. But we always advise when we have opportunities like this that we should singe with gas or any other form of fuel, but not car ties. I need not belabor that point, because we all know the reason why we shouldn't use car ties or the carcinogens that would end up in the final products. So the equipment you use, whether for the processing or for the waste, should always be neat, and they should be such that you can clean adequately and then maintain them. Usually in Ghana, we don't like maintenance. We just use this equipment until they break down. But when you maintain them as and when, then you know you always have them working well. And the final product you churn out would also not have any issues. And then pests. We know pests are with us. If you come and see cockroaches and rats in my house, it is my house. But wherever I'm producing food for sale, we wouldn't want to come and see these. So you prevent them from entry, and if they enter, you have to find a way of getting rid of them. So EPA spoke earlier. EPA usually trains these pest controllers. So when we go visiting a facility, of course, that is not our area, but we just look out for the one managing your pest. Once the person has been trained by EPA, there should be evidence. There should be evidence, so the person's certificates. And there's always a validity attached to it. So the certificate should also always be valid. It should be renewed as and when. The lady spoke about all that. Yes. So we look out for that, not just that, oh, somebody has come to fumigate my place. Because there are some people going around with a knapsack at their back with all sorts of chemicals. But once you are dealing with food, you are dealing with farming, and then processing animal products, food. There are some particular chemicals that should be used. Not all chemicals can be used. In our homes, maybe we can use all chemicals, but with the food environment, just one specific chemical to be used. So anyone EPA has trained knows all these, so that they do the needful, and we don't have chemical residues in the final animal products we consume. And then waste. Waste is also one of the main issues. The solid waste, yes, getting a receptacle which is big enough to contain it. But the effluent is also a main challenge. The effluent is a liquid waste. When we are doing our farming or we are doing the processing, washing of the animals, we shouldn't just let the waste water just run into the drain and then it goes into the sea, finally. So please, there are now some portable effluent treatment systems which are available. So you ensure you treat the water. The EPA lady mentioned that after the treatment, EPA is supposed to pick samples and then analyze and ensure that all the parameters are within before you discharge into the mains. So please, this is an area we are always having issues with when it comes to processing of animal products. So let's please take notes and ensure we do the needful. Then when it comes to the workers who also do the work for you, of course, there should always be somewhere for them, a washroom facility. There are times we compromise on some of these things because we focus on our products. But those who handle your products, if you have a washroom and the place is not neat, and they go there and come and handle your products, would our final products be safe for consumption? No. So this is very important for the workers. And then the butchers or the processors who also come into contact with the products, they should also go through medical clearance, so medical screening. We advise that should be done at least once a year. If you want to do it twice, fine. But at least once a year, it should be done. For these workers, should be medically screened, because we have some communicable diseases that can always be passed onto the final product. So we advise that they should be screened against these diseases. Then our final products will be safe. And then we also advise that the workers should also be in the appropriate attire. They should be washing their hands frequently. Now we know with this COVID and we washing our hands frequently, cholera, which is always an issue. Last year, we didn't even hear of cholera. Yes. So once we do the needful and ensure that we take hygiene very serious, it takes away a lot of diseases. So anybody handling food should be washing their hands. There are times you have people wearing gloves. We don't endorse gloves unless you are in a section where you need to wear gloves. Other than that, when you wash your hands frequently and adequately, it rather takes care of the germ than having gloves, which at the end you use in touching other products and rather contaminating but protecting your own fingers. So hand washing, we can never stress. We have all witnessed what it has done for us. So I hope that even when the Kuru goes away, we will still carry on with this hand washing. So, and there are times maybe through the work you will get cuts and all that. If the cut is such that the person cannot work in the processing environment, then you move the person away from there. But if it isn't that big, then you would have to cover it well with a waterproof covering so that you don't have it coming into contact with the products. Go on. Okay. Then we also talk about documentation. In anything you do, there should always be the documentation. So I've mentioned the medical screening. It should be documented. I mentioned the pest. That whoever manages your pest for you, it should also be documented. When you do even cleaning and then the waste management, everything should be documented. We call something a standard operating procedures. Whatever you intend to do at your facility, cleaning or whatever, you should just have a step-by-step procedure-wise how it should be done. And then when you finish doing it, you record accordingly. So when we come to the facilities, we usually delve deep into this and advise accordingly. Okay. And then you should also have a list of your distributor suppliers, because there are times we receive complaints, a number of complaints, and when we are investigating these complaints, documentation comes in handy. Where did you source your raw materials from? where did you send your finished products from? So you should have a list. You may not have the list of everybody who purchased your product, but at least some of the big either suppliers or distributors, you should have the list so that when we are tracing and investigating these complaints, it makes life easy for us and for you too. Because at times, if you don't have the documentation, then the onus lies on you to prove, and you will be in trouble at times. But when you have this documentation, at times they just leave you off the hook because we have leads that we can follow to ensure we get to a logical end. Okay. Now we have the progressive licensing scheme for the cottage industries. MBSSI is here, so I'm sure they will take you through. We work with them because they give the funding for that, but for very cottage industry, very small scale industry. So we advise our companies or our clients to go through them. Going through them helps you to cut off a number of things you have to submit, like maybe a certificate of analysis and all that, because they do the funding, and then we use that to do the analysis. So that's, as I said, is for the cottage industry, very small scale. So you go through the MBSSI because we are working with them. They have the funding for that. Okay. So in conclusion, we say that ensuring meat safety is a shared responsibility. We shouldn't think it's just the regulator. We also do our bits. If we are going round, and we are not doing what you are expected to do, the final product, because our eyes cannot be everywhere. Some people hide and do all sorts of things. And know that whatever you are putting out there, if you are not the one consuming, your child may be in school consuming, your relative may be somewhere consuming. So it's a shared responsibility. We shouldn't just be thinking about money, and then we just put out any form of animal products out there for people. Animal products are things we consume on a daily basis, because that's our main source of protein. Yeah, so we don't joke with that. So let's all ensure that once you are also in this industry, together with the regulators, we all do the right thing so that we have safe products being consumed, and Ghana will be the ultimate winner. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So if there are any questions, we will take them.
Thank you. FDA, how effective have you harnessed your operation vis-a-vis testing, educating, and then issuing permits? Because lately you've been in the media space, FDA, EPA, and the likes. How effective? I want to know.
How effective in what?
Your operations. Have you harnessed your operations vis-a-vis testing, educating, and issuing permits?
Issuing permits for licensing, general
yes,
licensing?
Yes.
Well, I can't say we are everywhere. No. Our eyes cannot be everywhere. There are some clients who hide and do things. So we have a very vibrant post-market market surveillance team that goes around to fish out some of these facilities. But of course, the facilities that come to our notice, we inspect, we test. You are supposed to test before you submit. We also have a lab. So periodically, we just sample products from the markets. We call it product monitoring to ensure that products that have been registered, we monitor their safety. Because you can register a product today, tomorrow you can go and do your own thing. So I'll sample from the market, analyze, and realize that what I registered maybe a year ago isn't what is still on the market now. So we do that. We monitor, we analyze, and then we issue licenses to those who are deserving. There are times you come to your facility, you come and do the first set of inspections. You may have non-compliances to address. So we give you recommendations. We agree with you the time within which you will be, of course, depending on how grave they are. Some of them you have to address them immediately because they impact safety or public health. But there are others, maybe structure-wise, we can give you a little time. Then when you are through, we issue you with the license or the permits as you mentioned. So if you can please maybe point out some of the things maybe we haven't done.
The reason why I'm asking this is that lately we've seen some products that are in the system, and we have FDA, we have EPA, and we ask questions. How?
Please, products like, if you can please be specific and let's zoom in into a particular product, a particular area, then we deal with it.
Since the product, I wouldn't be so exact on a particular product, but where I'm coming from, that is why I'm asking this question. I'm at the port.
Okay.
Yes, that's why I'm asking this question.
And the port, you know, we also have a strong presence there. You
For
know,
sure.
now we even have a huge building there.
You know,
Yes,
you're
so
working with human institutions.
yes,
Yes.
we have a presence there.
I know.
But as I said, I wouldn't stand here and say that we see everything that moves out. No. You know, take trophy is supposed to be banned, but we have it all over. And it certainly comes through the ports, yes. So that's why we had to sit down and analyze and find out. Yes. We are there with other institutions. We don't see each product that comes. We have now even color-coded them. There are some green which we are not supposed to even look at to pass, yes. And we realize that some of these products are being hidden behind the green and they are even leaving without FDA. That time we had to do an audit. We realized that there were about 200 containers of animal products, frozen animal products that passed through without FDA seeing. So we are not the only agency there, yes.
Now, when it comes to testing of products, how long does it take? Because it has come to like that. It takes a longer period for you to come out with the results, for you to start using it. How long does it take in testing these products?
Usually, before a product is registered, the client will have to analyze it and bring it. Analyze and then bring us the lab results. We have a lab, as I mentioned. We will not run through the whole profile. We pick just some of the parameters, some of the important parameters, and just analyze. Now, our processes have become very short. Very short. So the products don't stay long in the system. No. There are times the facilities, because before a product is registered, the facility will also have to comply. So there are times the problem is rather with the facility, because the clients will still have a few issues to address. But the registration of the products now, it takes a very short time.
Anyway, you are telling me.
Yeah. So if you have any particular, like I said, any particular products maybe you have heard, this is what FDA has been doing.
No.
Of course, we have come along.
I've been to even MPA, and I had to fire
FDA.
MPA.
MPA.
Yes. You see, for my results to come out. Why?
MPA.
Yes, National Petroleum Authority.
Oh, okay.
You see, petroleum products, they have to go and test it, oil, and it takes a longer time. The container sits there and accrues the demurrage. So if I don't get there and fire, you can just imagine.
Maybe,
that's why
of
I'm asking this question.
Maybe with the petroleum products, maybe they also have protocols, of course, and that takes, but with the food products, no, it doesn't take that long now. Thank you.
Okay, madam, my name is Joel. Yeah.
Okay.
I think most of us here are small-scale farmers, yeah, who may not necessarily be into processing and packaging. But then someone may come to buy our product and say, oh, process it for me, or kill it, slaughter it, and dress it for me. Do I still need to come for a permit? And if yes, do I always have to move to your office, or there can be a simple way, just a telephone call? You people come to the farm, you assess where I want to do my slaughtering, and give me the go-ahead. Thank you.
Okay, so as I mentioned, no matter how small you are, we will still have to ensure that you are producing under good manufacturing practices, and you are complying with all the hygiene protocols. And so when I was in a position, I mentioned that we don't look at big place, state-of-the-art place. It can be a small place, but we have to ensure that you do the needful. Yeah, so even if you are processing, maybe not every day, once in a while, we still have to come and license your place. And you can't just do that by phone call, no. You would have to come complete a form, and then you pay the fee, and then we would follow up and come and do the needful. We have challenges with the small scales, because there are times they will tell you, I can't move from my place and then come. But this is just once in a while that it happens. And when we license the facility, the validity is every year. Just 1 year. With the product itself, when we register product, it takes 3 years before you have to renew it. But the facility is just once a year. So once a year, you just walk in, you fill the form, and then you pay, and then we would come and have that done. Yes, we are all busy, but please, you need to make time, because if something you've been hiding and doing, and then we just chance on you, then that is when paying fines and sanctioning would come in, and we wouldn't want to get to that. So once you know you do some form of processing, you come and then we do. Yes, sir. Yes.
Hello.
Hello, my name is Jifa. My question is, can you give me an average period of time that it takes to get a license? And also, what is the general cost implications involved? For example, do I have to pay for...
I can't hear you.
So what are the cost implications, just averagely, and the time it takes to get a license? Do I need to pay for someone to come and visit my facility? Just generally what I need to do.
So generally, you apply, you come and complete the form. You pay depending on the size. For the small scale, we have 150, we have 50, we even have 450 for the medium, and then we have 600 and over for the large scale. And when you come and apply, when we receive the application, within a week, we schedule the inspection to come and look at your facility. So I went through some of the parameters we look out for when we come to the facility. So when we come and you comply with everything, in a matter of weeks, your facility will be licensed. There is usually that drag because there are usually issues, and we would have to advise, do this, do that, and then we give you time to address them, and then we come back and do a follow-up inspection. So everything just depends on you. And I learned there are other people from the regions. We have presence in all the regions. So if you are in any of the regions, then look out for our office, and then you visit them. Yes, sir.
All right. Oh, we quickly wanted to take a last question. We'll have a break.
My name is David Ayomi. I'm into livestock, and I have some challenges which I want to aid out, maybe for some help. It concerns about treatment and treatment like diseases and infections. And when that happened, you go to the market and you get vaccines or medicines for these animals, and you have a problem with the veterinaries officers that you can't do that. You can't go and get medicines or vaccinations for the animals. They have to do. Meanwhile, several times we go to them and they come and they treat, they give injection to the animals, and it doesn't work. The problem increases. So I've been having this problem back and forth, and I don't live there. It's far back at north, and I'm in Accra, and there are people handling those animals. So I'm having a challenge with those things. They have to fight them. You can't do that. You can't do this. So I want to know if that is correct and what I can do. Thank you.
Unfortunately, this isn't under the purview of the FDA. This is solely at the doorstep of Veterinary Service Directorate, and they are around. I have seen their stand. They are around, so I'm sure they would also be available to help when it comes to diseases and application of drugs, application of vaccines. It is Veterinary Service Directorate. Yes, they are around as I mentioned, so I'm sure they will be of help. Thank you.
Okay, I think I want to make a small submission. I'm the municipal vet in Tema, so I think I want to help him too.
Okay.
Yes, so like she rightly said, there are things that we are related to do as a vet. We are not the drugs and all that you are not supposed to be giving as a farmer. There are some things that we are actually training the farmers to do. But I think I'll ask for your comment because every region has a region. Okay. Okay. Every region has a regional vet that if you have a challenge, probably in your, you can go to him and make a complaint. And I believe he will be of help to you. When you say that the vet techs probably are treating and they are having issues, it's a very big challenge to me. Because now some of us have been training for so many years. So if a professional is coming to you, you expect him, okay, you expect him to actually give you a very good thing. But remember, not everybody that is actually a trained vet. They are quacks in the system. That exactly you went to, and I don't know who exactly attended to your animals. Apart from that, you may have a lot of drugs in the system. And we all know this country is not all the drugs that even passes through the approved routes. So you may be thinking you are using a very good drug, but meanwhile, these are all either fake or expired. You go to the market and you see people just selling drugs in the hot sun. These drugs are going to work when you use them for animals. Okay, so there are so many loopholes which I think we are all looking into very soon. These protocols are coming to play. That will be. And then I'll connect it to the regional vet in Tamale, and it's solved.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much. I think we've been sitting for quite some time. We'll be starting the specialized sessions very soon. So we just want to give ourselves some 5 minutes break. We will take the 2 general sessions. We'll be delving into digital marketing, and we have MOFA, PPMED, what we need to know before we go into agribusiness. So we just want to break for 5 minutes. Let's stretch a bit, and then after those 2, we will break into our specialized sessions. So see everyone in the next 5 minutes. Thank you. Yes, senior. Yes, sir.
We have engagements, but some of us have to go and see farmers.